Hello, BookTube. I'm back with another top 10 list. This one is top 10 things you did not know about Fritz Lang, the film director. Now, I'll start out just with a brief overall biographical sketch, and then we'll get into the 10 unknown facts or the things that you probably did not know. Fritz Lang was born Friedrich Christian Anton Lang on December 5th, 1890, in Vienna. And he went to university for civil engineering in the University of Vienna, but dropped out shortly after and traveled the world and studied painting in 1913 in Paris. He is best known for his silent film Metropolis that was released in 1927, but also earlier epics such as Dr. Mabuse the Gambler, over 4 hours long in 1922, and Die Nebelingen, over 5 hours in 1924. So let's get into 10 things you did not know about Fritz Lang. Number 10. During World War I, he was wounded a number of times, one of them losing the sight of his right eye. He entered the army in Vienna as a private, but when he was discharged, he was a lieutenant. And number 9. Shortly after his discharge, he began writing scenarios and scripts for films, and also dabbled a little bit with acting in Vienna. And then being hired by Eric Palmer as basically a full-time scriptwriter. Number 8. He married his first wife, Lisa Rosenthal, in 1919. Number 7. He met and began writing with Thea von Harbo, who would become his writing partner up until 1933 on every film that he would do. And number 6, in 1921, Fritz Lang's first wife, Lisa, died under sort of mysterious circumstances. Fritz Lang never spoke about this. He never referred to this incident. But the records sort of show that she had died from a pistol shot or a revolver shot to the chest. Now, it was believed at the time that it was self-inflicted. However, there has been other evidence showing that she might have found Fritz Lang and Thea von Harbo in a compromising situation, and somehow he had shot her and killed her. So it was something that he never, even though he throughout his life he would embellish things, mythologize incidents in his life, but this was something he never spoke about. But recent evidence shows that possibly he was the cause of her death, whether purposely or by accident. And in either case, biographers have suggested this is why throughout his life he's made films about guilt and suicide, murder, unsolved murders, etc., as a sort of feeling guilty. But the story will never be known fully, most likely. Number 6, Metropolis, 1927. As I said, it's probably his best known silent film. It's been very influential throughout the years. However, it took about 80 years after its premiere for it to be seen again in a complete version as it did on opening night. It was continuously cut and recut scenes, jostled around, and it wasn't until like the early 21st century, basically, that it's been put together in an original form. And this sort of got his reputation for a lot of things, actually, not just being a great director, but also almost crippling a studio. It started out with he had a budget for the film, and it went four and a half times larger in the end. Eric Palmer, who had originally hired him in the late teens, was head of UFA Studios, and he was fired for that, and it almost crippled the studio. And he was known to be not that great of... he did not treat his actors that well. Bridget Helm had lots of complaints about him, and he would keep, hundreds of children in cold water for days on end to get the shot that he wanted and to get realism. Number 4, Woman in the Moon, 1929. Another sort of science fiction-ish, it is a science fiction film. Again, all these films were written that he wrote with Thea von Harbo. But in Woman in the Moon, it is at least the first film depiction of a countdown for a rocket to go off. And that rocket was in stages. Again, a first. And it has been called a first right across the board. It's never been done before. But I sort of suspect that might not be 100% correct with regards to in literature, in science fiction or super science literature. But I haven't been able to verify that yet. Number 3, M, 1931. It was a sound film, but shot with basically silent film techniques and sensibility. It was a film about a child murderer played by Peter Lorre in his first starring role. And this again gets it embellishes his reputation for being cruel to actors in many ways. Because the rumor was that for the final scene, Fritz Lang wanted Peter Lorre to look very battered and disheveled. So he apparently pushed him down some stairs to make him look like that. And that's the rumor that was going around. And number 2, so we're nearing the end now. Number 2, 1932, Fritz Lang started filming a sequel to Dr. Mabuse the Gambler called The Testament of Dr. Mabuse, also a sound film. He finished it in 1933, but 1933 was another year that something started, not finished. Hitler came into power, so the Nazis were now in power. Now, in The Testament of Dr. Mabuse, Fritz Lang has a character to say things that are very reminiscent of catchphrases of the Nazi Party. And this came obviously to the attention of Joseph Goebbels. And Joseph Goebbels canceled the film and eventually was banned by the Nazis. It was thought to be a hazard to public health and safety because it showed that a small group of people could overthrow an authoritarian government, and that did not fit in with Nazi plans. Number 1, finally number 1. Following the cancellation of The Testament of Dr. Mabuse, Fritz Lang was summoned to Joseph Goebbels' office, and he apologized for canceling the Testament of Dr. Mabuse and saying that it wasn't going to be screened. But he also lauded praise on Fritz Lang for his films. And as I said, the Die Nebelungen from 1924 was one of the favorites of Adolf Hitler. And they respected him as a filmmaker. They wanted him to take over the head of UFA Studios, where he almost crippled with Metropolis several years, about 5 years earlier, 6 years earlier. Now this comes back into the situation where Fritz Lang embellished and mythologized stories. His story, well, it changed over time a little bit, but the basis was that he went to this meeting and he basically was like concerned about the time because he knew that he wouldn't be able to get to the bank, because he immediately thought, I'm not doing this. This is his story, that he wasn't going to do this, but he said yes he would, and it gave him time to get money by selling jewelry and other things. And he said he lit out, like basically he left Berlin the next day or two for Paris. And he says he was concerned because of his Jewish ancestry. This, as I say, was an embellishment of things. The biographer Patrick McGilligan has done a really nice big biography of Fritz Lang. And he has found his passport. And this is the thing, like Fritz Lang, when he died, he didn't want any of his papers. He wanted everything destroyed. He only wanted his films to stand for him, for his life work. However, that never really happened. So his passport was found, and it was shown that throughout 1933, he went back and forth many times between Berlin and Paris. He actually had a mistress in Paris, another scenario writer or an assistant that he had. And Thea von Harbo sort of knew about this and divorced him in, I think it was beginning of 1933. She stayed. Well, eventually Fritz Lang left Germany in late 1933. And then went to Paris, then eventually to California, well, to Hollywood. But Thea von Harbo, right at the beginning of the Nazi party, she was a supporter, sympathizer, and wound up staying in Germany to make Nazi propaganda films. So yeah, so there are 10 things you did not know about Fritz Lang. If you've enjoyed this, do let me know in the comments, or if you'd like to see other top 10 lists of this ilk. Thank you very much, BookTube.